We will develop Uzbekistan together. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say they are doing something for our national producers.
What's your party's take on ecological issues?
Some legislative reforms waiting to be solved. You should vote for Milliy Tiklanish Democratic Party because I wouldn't support your idea that Milliy Tiklanish only talks about national identity and language.
What is the position of party to such kind of external threat?
At the second stage, Turkic Republic counters because we understand each other faster. Regional identity is appearing.
Turkic identity, right?
Only we get benefits to both sides.
But don't you think that, for example, if we keep pushing this Turkicness, don't you think that we will lose our Uzbekness type of identity? Hello from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. We are hosting another podcast with members of parliament, members of parties, and today we welcome a member of Milliy tiklanish, which stands for National Revival Democratic Party in Uzbekistan, Samandar Ismailov. Welcome to our podcast.
Okay, thank you.
Let me introduce Samandar before we kick our discussion. So he did his bachelor's at the Westminster University in Tashkent in economics with finance. Then he did law and master's degree, a master's in law at the University of Leicester. Currently, he's a member of Milliy tiklanish Party and works as a chief scientific researcher at the Parliamentary Research Institute under the Legislative Chamber of the Parliament.
Currently, the world and all societies are rapidly developing, so people also want more things from the parliament, from their elected representatives, from the MPs, and they expect more than the history they did. So when their expectations are not met, or the trust between politicians and people will erode. So this is occurring in our country as well to some extent, but not absolutely, I would say. So Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party advocates that MPs should be more accountable to their voters, to the electorate, and they must ensure that laws and reforms shouldn't be just passage. They should be constantly monitored and they should be implemented successfully after their adoption at the parliament. In that way, the society, the trust between society and politicians can be built up. The bridge will build again. So Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party at the viewpoint that everything depends on not only parliament side, it depends on society side as well. When the society urges MPs to work actively, so the MPs will feel more responsibility in front of their voters. In this mechanism will work and accelerate more than the current day. And I would additionally fostering a culture of accountability within the parliament, where the MPs are held responsible for their promises they make. The trust will revitalize.
So, like, you mean that? So the one of the main reasons.
Connection, I would say, connection between politicians and people, and the people who elected them. So when we saw to the remote places, we see people feel unhappy because they think their MPs are not doing as they expected when they voted. We know to some extent they are right, but I wouldn't say absolutely. I wouldn't say that MPs are not doing anything absolutely. They are working here. They are adopting laws. They are going to the places to listen what the problems in the society are occurring, and they are working. However, there is some places to make improvements within the agitation work, through the media platforms. Parliament must work more active to inform what they are doing.
Based on what you said, like, we also sometimes when people complain, we understand, like, we can say that people do not sometimes or not do not, but they misperceive the function of the parliament sometimes, right? They think that parliament should do something while the main function of parliament is making law, right? They're
Yes.
not the executive. So
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. The first thing, the parliament should make law, should adopt new laws, or should make some amendments to the existing laws. This is the first responsibility of parliament, and first responsibility of the MPs. However, many voters want their MPs, their elected representatives, to solve their individual problems.
which is impossible, right?
Which is impossible to some extent, because MPs cannot. I'm sure MPs cannot work. At least they have voters of 100,000 people. They cannot. It is physically impossible to go through their doors, knocking the doors, and asking individual problems and solve 100,000 problems during 1 year. It is impossible, I would say. However, if they adopt a law which gives benefits in the years to come to their voters, it would be more better than solving individual problems.
Thank you.
So, what do you see? What's the core value of Milliy tiklanish, your party? And
New developed platform of Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party is closely related with the ideas of national identity, preserving cultural heritage, and also the core values revolve around patriotism, promoting national identity. So unlike other political parties, we also advocate the transition to green economy step by step, and also we advocate economic development. How to say, in what way? For example, their economic development is very a huge area, but we advocate supporting our national producers, which produce commodities and goods under the brand of Made in Uzbekistan. For example, what we can do in that way, we can simplify customs procedures to make exports for them. There are some places to adopt law and to make simplifications in this sphere as well, and as well as we can create some ways to make their production easier to get, for example, their access to natural resources, their access to raw materials at some reasonable price. In that way, they can produce commodities and products at cheaper price to make exports, or to not only in terms of exports, but only to sell their products in our internal market.
yeah, this is very interesting. I guess in our one of the previous podcasts, we had a member of Uzbekistan Liberal Democratic Party, and he was talking about the party programs, and he also mentioned that their party is supporting various layers of society, and they have almost like 500 tasks, and which includes also green economy, supporting farmers, and creating, for example, a rule of law. My question is that how do you see how do you see your party? I mean, what's the difference between your party and the other parties? Why people should vote to your party? Because as far as I know, you said you mentioned green economy, right? We have a ecological party. They are also supporting the green
yes,
projects.
ecological party, stating that they support the transition to green economy. They advocate anything, but I don't say they are doing. I cannot say they are keeping their promise successfully. And also another political party, Liberal Democrat Party, unfortunately I wouldn't say they are doing something for our national producers. For example, Uzbekistan is going towards to become a member of World Trade Organization. When we will be a member of World Trade Organization, our producers must be equipped in order to not to go bankruptcy. So I wouldn't say they are doing something for our national producers. I wouldn't say they are supporting the brand Made in Uzbekistan. Our goods are enough qualified. For example, lived in London for 2 years, and I had an opportunity to go through the European countries. I traveled, and I would say our national producers are producing very good qualities. So if we can export, we are exporting currently as well, but it's not at full capacity. If we can encourage them enough so they can export, and they will find their consumers, because their price is at reasonable price, and also quality is good, because during last years, I mean 5 or 10 years, they got new technologies from the developed countries, but they are still waiting some reforms, some legislative reforms, to get support from the MPs, from the government. So in this way we can support them. So I wouldn't say some other political parties doing something. For example, we have a organization that call it Hunarmandchilar. Yeah, Hunarmandchilar. This is our national brand, Hunarmandchilar. They produce some sculptures and everything they produce with the brand of made in Uzbekistan, and which represents our culture, which represents our lifestyle, which is, and we I can say that there is high demand amongst travelers, amongst foreigners in Uzbekistan. When you go to Samarkand or Bukhara, they are not buying anything under the made in China or anything else. They are going to that sculptures or the commodities which represent our culture. So it is interesting for them. They are buying. So we can sell them in European market as well, but there are still some legislative reforms waiting to be solved to make them easier for our national consumers to export at higher capacity.
So, like, let me ask a follow-up question on WTO. Like, you said that, like, did I understand you correctly that Milliy tiklanish would not push the country to be a member of this international organization because we are not ready, or how do you interpret this?
No, to become a member of World Trade Organization is something we must go through. But however, until that time, we must strengthen enough our national producers. Otherwise, they can go bankruptcy easily, because all the producers in the global market will come to the Uzbekistan with reasonable prices, offering high quality. So we need to support our national producers until the time.
You brought up very interesting points and cases. For example, let's say, like, if you are elected in this parliament, so would you say, what is three priority direction for your party in this upcoming term?
Okay, got it.
Which distinguish you from other parties?
Yeah, I would say this is education system. Education system now under a lot of reforms. A lot of reforms are being done during last years. However, there is an institution of family. I would say institution of family. Family parents should be accountable enough for the knowledge of their kids. For example, there are a lot of laws in the UK. There are laws to make the parents accountable for their kids' education in Japan. A lot of in other developing in European countries. However, in Uzbekistan, institution of family is not it's not approaching to the education of their kids. They give their kids to kindergarten, they give their kids to school, and that's it. What they are doing now, they should focus on how they are behaving, how their kids are reading, learning materials. So we support these three institutions should be unified to some extent. In that way, our education will get upper stage. Currently, there are some in universities in Uzbekistan which are ranked in top 1,000 universities, but we can enlarge their numbers, not in thousands, not in top 500s, in top hundreds, because if we learn from the history, Uzbekistan, this place was one of the most developed nation, one of the most developed land in terms of education. We need to, this is Milliy tiklanish, national revival. We need to revive that's our reputation in this education as well. So there are some legislative reforms we should do. I mean, in terms of family, at our current society, institution of family is eroding to some extent. Divorce rate is really high. So this means there is something to do.
Let me ask this again, one more follow-up question about the education. Like, don't you think that too much intervention of the government into educational system will decrease the academic freedom or the competitions among others? So we like many people, especially like those party members of Uzbekistan Liberal Democratic Party, they say that education institutions should compete among each other and should build their systems independently. Don't you think that the too much intervention, as Milliy tiklanish promotes, in terms of what to teach, how to teach, would decrease the competition among institutions?
Okay, it depends on. For example, intervention by the government to the education, of course, decreases the education rate, education quality of the country. However, intervention in terms of training teachers would be, of course, beneficial. We are supporting the government reforms. I wouldn't call it intervention. I would call it government support in terms of educating teachers, teacher training, because why our young children going foreign universities? What do you think? Because the education quality is high. Why education quality is high there? Qualified teachers are teaching their students. Very well taught teachers are available there. So 50% maybe depends on the students, school pupils, and as 50% all, I would say, without any hesitation, depends on the teacher as well, and as well as the family as well, parents. So we are supporting that every single teacher should be qualified enough to teach their children, escaping from their personal.
Your party's perspective on bureaucracy. Let me start with a personal example. I work as a professor in one private, or let's say a foreign university in Tashkent. Before that, I had some offers from local national universities, and interestingly, like, I decided not to go there, knowing that I would not be able to combine my work in other, like Center for Progressive Reforms and teaching. Why? Because like I know from my own experience and my colleagues who told me that if you go there from local university, the local system will overburden you with so many assignments. You won't have like flexible schedule to work to combine with other jobs. What do you think? What's your party's view on bureaucratization of the education system and how to solve these kind of problems?
Our party is strongly advocating that teachers should be independent enough to teach their students. In terms of teacher training, yeah, we're supporting them, but in terms of teaching, how they teach, how they practice with their students, they should be enough, they should be free enough from the bureaucracy, from the orders of the upper. This is also going through academic freedom should be also for teachers as well. You are right to some extent. In our local universities, you might be obsessed with some bureaucracy, which is very disadvantaged side of our local university system. But this system is eroding one by one. But I would say the hardness of the education system that you cannot reform anything in the education system at once. It takes time. It takes 5 years, maybe 10 years, and then you will get a expected result. But in 1 year or 3 years in education, it's impossible to see the result at once. We supported the minimization in number of subjects. We got it currently. This was the how to say, idea of Milliy tiklanish. Currently, if you go to local universities, you will see at most 5 or 6 subjects. At some universities, 4 subjects are being taught. But 6 years or 10 years ago, you can see more than 10 subjects were being taught.
We had 11 subjects.
Yeah, 11 subjects. Even some subjects were not related to your specific area. So, for example, if you were studying in law, maybe you were urged
to take IT, for example.
Some IT, maybe mathematics. Yeah, it takes your time. It's taking also some bureaucracy, also taking time of teachers. So teachers should be free enough to teach their school people, their university students. So we are advocating that. And there, as you know, at the parliament currently there are the institutions and the government hour, parliament hearing, and parliament inquiry. In that institutions, parliament has power to call the minister, one exact minister, and to hear their representation in one, for example, in some issues. We are using, Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party is using that tools to hold the Minister of Education, the school more, so to decrease bureaucracy rate at schools, and also Minister of Higher Education to decrease bureaucracy. As well as, I would say, there is a system now. This is advantage. There is a system, electronic system at local universities. They switch it to paperless system. They are not using paper. This is also one goal which we accomplish it, I would say.
Like, I wanna, like you stated, like main visions of your party. Could you briefly say, like, as a voter, why should I vote for you?
Okay, you should vote for Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party because we offer you vision of Uzbekistan's development in terms of national values. As we see, world is developing in some directions very rapidly, but as we see, some countries lost their national pride, national language, would say, national lifestyle system even. So as a nation, we must keep our cultural heritage, national pride. So we support every single development. It can be in education, it can be in a green economy, or just economy. It should be based on national values.
I have one pressing issue. It is to me as a political analyst, and maybe like people are also wondering about this issue, is that, you know, as if 5 political parties in Uzbekistan function in a sort of labor of division type of system where certain parties do certain jobs or support certain classes of societies or thematic topics. Like, for example, let's say Uzbekistan's Liberal Democratic Party support only business community. Adalat Party supports only so-called intelligentsia, right? Like justice. While Milliy tiklanish is as if only talking about identity or language, right? So I'm curious, what's your party's take on ecological issues?
Okay, I wouldn't support your idea that Milliy tiklanish only talks about national identity and language. Maybe this sphere got your attention more, but Milliy tiklanish focuses on the rights of teachers, supports the rights of national producers, and also advocates the improvement in the ecological system as well. So the ecology, our atmosphere, the ecology, not only in Uzbekistan, the world climate is changing, and the air pollution we are coming across as a major problem, which is more important than the other classes of the society, maybe I would say, because Tashkent is very being polluted. We can see from the statistics. So we have some national projects. For example, we support the idea of maximization of forests, national parks, national public parks, across the not only in the countryside, only in the cities as well. For example, if you go to European countries or they are greener, not in the countryside, only in cities. They are going more greener in the cities. So we wouldn't say Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party only doesn't speak only about national identity. It also supports some improvements which we got from the foreign how to say experiences. We are at the viewpoint we can introduce foreign experiences into Uzbekistan's development as well if it's beneficial to our society. For example, we are learning China's experience in the sphere of deforestation, in the sphere of expansion of forests, because it is one of the example countries. So we are offering to the government in terms of air quality. We gave the offer, so we need to construct a platform amongst Central Asian countries, because the air pollution or ecological problems is not appearing only in the area of Uzbekistan. It's coming from the other countries as well. So if we combat against the climate change together with our neighboring countries, we will get more results. Our offer has been taken into account. From the next year, parliamentary friendship group will be built amongst Central Asian countries. So legislative reforms will be discussed together with our neighboring countries. So this gives the meaning that we will combat together with our neighboring countries, and as well as in terms of ecology. So we have some natural resources which are not created in the area of Uzbekistan. There are some water resources coming through from other neighboring countries. So we are strongly supporting the idea in our foreign policies, in our foreign international relations. The first stage should be Central Asian and Turkic Republic countries. So from this viewpoint, we are also thinking about to solve ecological problems together, Central Asian countries. I would say I didn't see any such kind of offer given by ecological party, because they are saying they are offering some economical cycle, green transition to the green economy. So these are the reforms which is not only done by the government of Uzbekistan. We need to go through together with our neighboring countries. So this is the uniqueness of Milliy tiklanish's platform as well.
Let's talk about external threats to our national identity. We recently saw several attacks from Russian propagandists. They were saying, putting under question not only our national identity but our also statehood, right? What is the position of party to such kind of external threat?
Okay, at the current era, at the current world, keeping peaceful life of societies and countries is the main priority. And as well as we need to do something, we need to combat against foreign threats as well. So what we can do in that way. So Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party offers a way that we need to strengthen the minds of the citizens of Uzbekistan through the education. We need to explain them what's how valuable the peaceful life, and we need to make some immunity in their minds against the against the foreign propaganda. So in that way we can easily combat against any kind of international threats, any kind of international propaganda. So this is the only way. I would say that the only way is the education.
Yeah, that's very interesting. As a candidate of Milliy tiklanish Party, what do you think? What are the main foreign policy priorities in the upcoming parliamentary term?
foreign policy upcomings, you mean? Within the platform of Milliy tiklanish, yeah. So I would say the priority area is to strengthen our relations at the first stage with the neighboring countries and Turkic Republic countries, as well as with other European countries, to minimize our resilience on some specific countries. For example, we have some countries which their share in our export in imports more than 30%, more than 50% maybe.
Such
I don't
as China
know.
or Russia, right?
Yeah, Russia. This increases our reliance on those countries. That's why, in order to keep our the economy more safer, I would say, more independent, we need to maximize our international partners at the first stage within the Central Asian countries, at the second stage Turkic Republic countries, because we understand each other faster and we can feel our needs faster, so we can do our negotiations easily, and then European countries and any other countries of the world. So I would say exchanging goods and commodities, if it is beneficial to both sides, why we shouldn't do? We should support such kind of reforms. I can say as a very good thing that regional identity is appearing within the Central Asian countries. For example, we are Central Asian. In last championships, Olympic Games in France, I felt very happy when the Kyrgyz or Kazakhs were supporting, when Uzbek were combating, or when our neighbor countries, one sportsman or sportwoman was combating, I was also supporting, which increases our friendship. So beyond these ties, only we get benefits to both sides, for us and for other neighboring countries. So I would say at the current world, we see countries are really trying to strengthen their friendship, their international relations with the countries in their region. They are getting into some blocks to keep their security, to keep their regional identity, to keep their economy in balance. In this way also, there are a lot of reforms we need to explore.
Yeah, this is I think very interesting topic. As we can see, I can say that there is kind of also regional like identity stuff. Like it became very prevalent. Before we used to talk about regional identity, lots of people putting under questions the idea of region, but this Olympic Games show that we are as
one region.
one region.
We are one region.
Yeah, at the same time, like Turkic identity, right? Like people were like getting more the idea of like Turkicness, like we have the same origin, so we very close. We're paying attention more to our similarities rather than differences.
But don't you think that, for example, if we keep pushing this Turkicness, don't you think that we will lose our Uzbekness type of identity?
I wouldn't think so, because if you go through the history, Turkic Republic countries were more closer than the current time, and they keep their values, they keep their national identity successfully. So why wouldn't be afraid?
Okay.
History says everything. We need to go back. We need to go back history, and all the issues were solved successfully in the histories. That's why Milliy tiklanish Democratic Party strongly encourages to preserve cultural heritage.
One of the, like, let's say another pressing issue in our society is rule of law. Like, what's your party's opinion on promoting rule of law within the parliament?
Okay, as we know, in the history of Uzbekistan, new election system is coming. That is majoritarian and proportional. So through the proportional system, we will see that MPs will be more responsible towards their parties. So through that system, MPs we will see will more tend to implement their political parties' platforms, what they promised before their election, so they can easily make their MPs to go through through the implementation of the their platforms. So in this way we can see legislative processes will go to upper stage, because and the MPs which were elected through the proportional election system will be more responsible in front of their parties, and they do not only adopt the laws, they will constantly monitor the rule of law after the passing the laws and after the passing the bills, and then they tend to keep parliamentary scrutiny more actively, and they will keep our government under more control, because they adopted the law. They need to successfully see. They need to see that the laws or any reforms adopted by the parliament being implemented in the places, because the people will ask what they are doing. People will ask what their representatives are doing in the parliament, because after the 5 years election is coming.
Last concluding question. So you talked about social policy and covered education, but there is another very important sphere, which is healthcare. So what is the position of your party regarding healthcare?
Okay, healthcare. We think that every single citizen should have an access to quality healthcare system every day, every hour. So healthcare system can be developed through the reforms as well, through the introduction of new technologies and the qualified staff. So the staff should be trained constantly. There should be a system to educate them. And the second, the priority that we must go through is the introduction and expansion of insurance system. 5 years ago, Milliy Tiklanish Democratic Party promised to introduce a insurance system in the sphere of healthcare. So now we can see it has been introduced. It's not implemented in all regions, but it has been introduced and it's being exercised as a test regime. But in the upcoming 5 years, all regions, all people should be successfully insured by the insurance companies. In that way, the healthcare system will get some will get some financial resources, so they can make some improvements in their technologies. They can train their staff. At the same time, we'll know they have insurance. So if you go through if you learn from the developed countries or developing countries, healthcare system is based on insurance. The insurance system is really, really important. If you want to go abroad, for example, European Union, you must do insurance. Medical insurance. Otherwise, you cannot visit. So in our society, in our healthcare sphere, the first thing we need to do is we need to introduce in all regions of Uzbekistan insurance, medical insurance. This is the source of finance. This is the guarantee of people to the access of quality healthcare, quality medical treatment.
Like, doesn't mean that in the future, if Uzbekistan introduce insurance, doesn't mean that like our public healthcare system will be privatized. Like, if we have public healthcare, let's say in the UK they have NHS system, right? So you pay only once and use many times you wish. Like in the US you have insurance and you go whatever you want to use based on insurance card. But in Uzbekistan we have public healthcare system. Like, what's your take on this one? Like, are you planning to develop the system, or will it be in future privatized?
Privatizing is something that pattern of development in healthcare system. I would say privatizing is not something we need to escape. So it depends on the selection of citizens. If they want to go through privatized hospitals, so they must go. They must have an option, second option. But insurance, what we will give, that minimization in corruption, because every single patient who is going to hospital, they know they have already paid for insurance, so they will not tend to pay any additional I know minority amount of money cash they are paying, and this is I would call this is a corruption, sense of corruption. This will minimize sharply.
Good point. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your answers. I think it was very useful for me, for myself. I learned a lot about this poetry. Like as Otabek mentioned, like I was also having this idea that Milliy tiklanish party probably like mostly focused on this key issues which is relevant to its main priorities. But I learned today you have also very extensive program covering green transition, covering education, healthcare, economy, of course, foreign policy, and threats coming from other powers. Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for you as well. Vote for the Milliy Democratic Party. We will develop Uzbekistan together.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you as well.